Welcome back to a new episode of the Beers of War podcast. Sorry for the hiatus for the last couple of weeks. Just life got in the way. Tonight, I am here with SirBigness. Unfortunately, Beer Ninja could not make it due to some last-minute circumstances that came up. So tonight, we're going to talk about the Xbox merger and where it's at currently around the world and who's approving it. We talk about the new Zelda release. And we kind of deep dive into some offshoots of the whole Xbox merger and how it's been changing the gaming landscape. So sit back, grab your beer, and enjoy the show.
All right. I picked up Jedi Fallen Order a couple of weeks ago and have been going through that. And it's a very good game, very well-built game. The story is very good. The story is very, very cohesive, kind of carries you over.
Is it still frustrating as the first one?
There are moments, but I'm ashamed to admit this, but as a seasoned gamer, I've done my time. I've paid my dues. I'm playing this joint on like easy mode. I'm not even trying to do the thing above story. Like I'm playing it for the story, so I don't need to get my blood pressure up on the combat. If I want to get my blood pressure up, I'll look at my checking account. I'm just playing this to enjoy the game and enjoy the story, enjoy the graphics. The game is beautiful. Game is absolutely beautiful. There are some really good puzzler elements to it. I like the way that they integrated the platformer with the combat with the Star Wars lore. So there's a lot of that stuff works in and fits in really nicely together. And I think they did a really good job. EA, and I'm trying to think which studio from EA did Fallen Order, or not Fallen Order, but Survivor.
Was it DICE?
No, it wasn't DICE. DICE did Battlefront. The Battlefront series, but I'm trying to think what the name of the studio was.
Is that one open world Star Wars game still in the works?
I've heard it is. The one Ubisoft's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it's still coming. It may be a year or two down the line. But that has taken up most of my gaming time these last couple of weeks since the last time we shot a podcast. I'm really impressed. But since we're talking about releases, the Zelda release, I want to give it. I have not bought Zelda. I haven't played the last 2 or 3 Zelda games. It's been reviewed. The reviews that I've seen, I haven't seen a single review that didn't give it a 10 or 100 or a perfect score. It has been up there. And as a Switch owner, a Nintendo Systems owner, whenever Nintendo does a first-party game, they do it right. And I am thoroughly impressed. Matter of fact, my wife's in there playing Splatoon now. Splatoon 3 is 2 years old, and she still plays that game more than anything else that she owns, really. She'll get excited about a game, play it for a little while, but then she's back on Splatoon. Nintendo did the release the right way. They dropped the game at midnight. You saw people going out and getting their copies with their special editions and all that stuff. All the stuff that really made me love gaming in the first place. Nintendo went back to that, or Nintendo is doing that, and I'm over the moon about it. So I'm really, really happy about that. So speaking of, what have you been playing?
Lately, I've been playing Ark, but I know last weekend Diablo 4 was doing their server crash test. So me and my kids all played a little bit over the weekend. Either Blizzard has their servers in line already, or not a lot of people showed up, because I never had any issues getting into the game at all. I never had to wait more than maybe a 10-second queue right at the very beginning, like when I log into the servers, get to the home screen. But after that, I got right in and started playing. my kids played all the way up to almost to the deadline on Sunday afternoon. Didn't have any
So
problems. The only issue we encountered, and we think it might have been more on our end versus their end, is to be like certain quests would go in and would click on it, and somebody would get booted out of the party and go back to the start of the area we were in, and we had to rejoin the party and catch back up. But overall, I didn't have any problems with it. Like I said, either they had their servers are working 100% and they had enough out, or not a lot of people showed up to play, which is shocking for one, a beta of a game, and two, a game as high profiled as Diablo. You figured you would have issues trying to get into the game.
So what did you think of it? I mean, is it one of those that once you play the beta, you're like, okay, that's a buy. So let me go ahead and get in my money right now.
It's one of those games I'll probably get definitely within the first month it'll be out, because I know my daughter's already bought a pre-order of it. I will probably end up getting one or two, unless something miraculously happens between now and then, and the merger goes through and it ends up on Game Pass on day one.
Is that an Activision game? Blizzard game?
Yep, Blizzard.
Wow.
It's a Blizzard property. Yeah, because you go back and you try to go find a copy of Diablo 2 for PlayStation 1, you're looking anywhere from, just for a used copy, anywhere from $80 to $150.
Wow.
Yeah. It's one of those games everybody's paying good money for. There's a used game shop here in Indianapolis that I was in a couple months ago and looking, and they had a copy of Diablo 2 and they wanted $80 for it.
God.
So, but no, overall, I mean, like I said, we're looking on getting into playing it. Probably end up buying a copy of it. It's 4 players, so that's kind of nice. Co-op. You can also play by yourself. So,
get in with the kids.
One of my boys has found our disc of Diablo 3 and is replaying that game. He's almost through beating that one. So, and then I got back into Ark. I don't think I've really played much of anything else lately.
When is 2 supposed to come out? I've seen the things for 2 with Vin Diesel and all that, but when is that supposed to drop?
Originally, it was supposed to come out this year, but the story, I think, is what happened is they're trying to put the game on Unreal Engine 5, but the issue is enough developers there don't feel comfortable using it yet and building a game around it. So what they want to do in the meantime is they delayed Ark 2 till next year instead of this year, and they're going to take the current version of Ark and make an upgrade to Unreal Engine 5 and work out their bugs on their end on the current game versus trying to develop a new game on it.
Makes sense.
So
okay.
They delayed it. We'll see how it works. I've seen some, in theory, fan-made videos of running the game through Unreal Engine 5. It looks a lot better, a lot smoother. So we'll see what they come up with on their end. So, but unfortunately, if you want to play it on Unreal Engine 5, you've got to basically rebuy the game, unfortunately.
Yeah. Odd question with that, because I'm not a tech. I don't know the tech specs of it, but with you playing Diablo and it being an Unreal Engine 5 game, did you experience any sort of performance issues?
Oh, this is Ark.
No, I mean not Ark, but I'm talking about when you play in Diablo 5, because you're playing in multiplayer, online, all that in this Unreal Engine 5. Are you giving any performance issues, anything like that?
I didn't notice any lag or anything.
Okay. Just to clarify, I mean, computer performance issues. We're both men in our 40s, so computer performance issues. Thank you.
But no, I didn't see anything. But I mean, now with the way the Xbox, I mean, we still got Xbox Ones. We haven't upgraded to the new system and we've got decently fast internet. I mean, we're able to keep up with it, so we're not seeing lag.
Good.
So, but I mean, back in the day when I first used to play Warcraft on the PCs, I mean, I knew what lag was back then, but I'm not seeing it now. So, but then again, too, we didn't get far enough in, because at the most you could play was like the level 20 Act 1, and that's all you could play on the beta version.
Okay.
I mean, you could start multiple characters. I made to like level 12 before I really stopped playing it. So I just got back into playing Ark. So the other big news going on now is, and we alluded to it before, was the Microsoft Blizzard Activision merger. And I know since the last time we talked, the news was out that the United Kingdom had already blocked it, and they've blocked it up to 10 years for review. Since then, I read that the European Union has agreed to it, and then China has made it number 37 of countries approved it. So right now, the United States is dragging their feet, but Britain has said no. Do you think this is going to get done?
Yes. I think it's an eventuality. I mean, for one thing, it's business, and it's big business, and they're gonna get their way. I mean, this is going to happen. I understand the United States dragging their feet. I understand, even if you have a competitive advantage in this current business environment, this is not even just including gaming. Even if you have a current advantage, if you have an advantage in business, that does not necessarily mean it's going to be a permanent advantage. Look at BlackBerry. Look at, let's see, who else? Other companies that were on top and fell off. I mean, Sears. I mean, really, look at Sears. You have a lot of companies that may be at the top, and I mean, these mergers and all this stuff, that's all well and good, because everybody was so excited when Microsoft started purchasing all these studios, and they really haven't cranked out that world beater game yet out of the studios that they've tried to acquire. I mean, you would think with Microsoft owning or in partnership with Bethesda, we would have seen Elder Scrolls 6 now. I was just thinking about this before the podcast started. Skyrim is 13 years old now?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Skyrim, 12 or 13 years old. I mean, I understand, they've done re-releases for different consoles and all this other stuff. And Bethesda has had other games that have come out, but good God. I mean, at what point do you just have to put the hammer down and say, let's get this game out into the public? I understand they want it to be great, but at some point, you're going to release a game and your audience is not going to care because it's been so long since the game came out. Obviously, we hadn't seen that with GTA. GTA's heading into year, 9?
I lost count.
9, 10 since GTA 5 came out?
There's a rumor going around we might see Red Dead 3 before we see GTA 6. Supposedly the guy who does the voice of John Marston dropped something on his Twitter feed about the next game.
It makes me wonder, maybe has there been enough consolidation in gaming among the big companies, the big studios, the big developers, to where there's not that level of pressure to produce not just a timely product, but even a good product? The threat, I mean, the real, the pressure's on Microsoft right now with Starfield. Starfield has to be a hit. Otherwise, what else do you have with your Series X?
Right.
You have Forza. That's pretty much it. And Gears.
And Forza is it's not a wide-ranging game where a lot of people get into the whole racing genre. Yeah. It's only a select few, because I know people who don't like racing games, won't touch a racing game, but then there's other people who are diehard racing fans, like me, who plays like the Formula One games and stuff like that. I look forward to the new Forza games.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Forza games. They're beautiful games.
Yeah, and another thing is when the whole merger came out, and the Xbox was saying to the people, the CMA, I think it's the group in the United Kingdom, they offered Nintendo and PlayStation in a 10-year agreement to access to Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that wasn't enough. I mean, that still gave PlayStation 10 years to either work out a better deal or develop their own game. And see, that's the thing part of the reason the CMA in the United Kingdom is blocking it, because they're afraid it's going to hurt competition because if Xbox has it. But that kind of goes back on PlayStation as well, as like, okay, we've got 10 years to develop a replacement to Call of Duty. You're telling me PlayStation couldn't get a publisher to develop a game?
You could reboot SOCOM. Did you ever play SOCOM on the PlayStation?
A little bit, yes.
That was a pretty good game. I mean, it was a solid game, and it was a lot of fun to play with people. It was an early Call of Duty type game back when everybody made, the military style shooters. I mean, there's still EA that has the Battlefield games, and you could press them heavy to give extra content or better content to Sony.
They would have 10 years to develop, take what's working now and apply it to a new concept, and then in 10 years you could perfect it and probably kill it if you actually put the effort into it. It just sounds to me on the flip side, PlayStation doesn't want to do it. They've got the thing right here. So PlayStation, in my opinion, is also hurting it as well as limiting competition, because they don't want to take that chance to go develop. So, I mean, what's to say they come out and develop a game that just blows Call of Duty out of the water, and somebody like me or you get back into playing those type of games?
Yeah, that's true. I haven't. I play a Call of Duty game, and I feel bad for saying this. It's kind of like the guy that reads Playboy for the articles. I play the Call of Duty games for the story, and they're usually pretty solid stories. They're just solid stories. Then if I buy the Call of Duty game that's out, I can't even remember which one, Modern Warfare 2 now or 3.
I don't even know where they're at.
If I get it, I'll play it just for the story. I have no interest in playing multiplayer. I understand there are a lot of people that do, but I'm not one of them. I mean, I'm definitely one of these people who's going to spend 18 hours a day, wake up, play Call of Duty until it's time to go to bed again. That's not how I game anymore.
Yeah, and another thing that I was reading about the CMA is they're worried their lack of competition, and they're also worried about Microsoft in general monopolizing cloud gaming. And as this is something we've alluded to in previous things, where Microsoft wants to get away from the physical equipment.
Mm-hmm.
They want to do everything streaming, online, cloud-based, everything. And that is what they're saying could be happening with this merger more and more as they get more and more titles. It's going to increase Microsoft's online gaming presence. But that's what I don't understand. That's the way everything's going nowadays anyway. I know you've got some traditionalists like Tim who still prefer hard copies and like physical copies. And as you as well. I mean, in my situation financially is not in my best interest to buy physical copies, because the way I've got it set up, I just buy one and I've got access to two people playing. But you're limiting, I think, the technology by hindering something like this to where Microsoft can expand this technology out even further. Because yes, we've seen GameFly with streaming services and stuff like that, where you basically would send in a game, kind of like the old school Netflix. They sent you the DVDs, you watch them for a couple of days, you keep them for however long you want, and then you send them back and they send you the next things on your list. It just seems now that that's the route Xbox wants to take, and then everybody wants to kind of hinder them from going that route. I mean, if they could actually go and develop that technology even further, what kind of games are we able to be seeing in 5 to 10 years?
It's no question. I mean, I remember when Microsoft was getting ready to release, I believe it was Crackdown 3. And it was supposed to be fully destructible environments. If you played multiplayer, you were going to get all this immersion. Everyone else was going to be able to play it too. course, all that stuff is only possible if everybody plays it, and they really didn't. But you still have the opportunity to develop the technology. And the thing with developing the technology is it is very much hit or miss. I mean, ask Facebook. Ask about the metaverse if you can get somebody to go on the record about that. That was supposed to be the next big thing. Thorough and complete flop. I mean, as we stand right now, PlayStation VR 2, kind of a flop. So not all technology is going to be some great grand world beater. Okay.
Just carry on. I'll be right back.
Not all great technology is going to be some world beater. There are going to be technologies that fall on their face, and all of that stuff is thoroughly dependent upon customer interaction. If the customer is willing to buy it, if the customer is willing to engage with it, and even something like Game Pass that has been a rousing success, you run the risk by trying to monopolize or trying to step out too far in technology. You run the risk of getting into something that not everybody adopts.
Right. The question is, and this has been thrown around too, if say everybody approves it but the United Kingdom, and they go through and sign all the paperwork and finalize the deal, the trade-off is, since the United Kingdom has not approved it, Microsoft, actually, let me phrase it, Xbox and Activision cannot operate in the United Kingdom. Are they willing to take that risk to get that deal done, to have the merger completed?
Now, when you say cannot operate, does that mean that they cannot operate as an integrated company in the United Kingdom? Like you can still sell Xboxes and play games there. You just can't have the Activision games on Game Pass or something like that. Is that how that works?
Honestly, that's a good question. Everybody just says that they could go the route of basically pulling it out of the United Kingdom. I don't know if that means Xbox basically pulling all services out of the United Kingdom, or does it just limit any future Xbox and Activision work?
Maybe they won't be able to collaborate together, and my Activision games, you'll still have to pay for them in the UK versus 30 miles or however long the English Channel is over there in France. They're holding hands just like they are everywhere else.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I've heard the numbers. I mean, it sounds to me that the just in general, the Activision, Microsoft, Xbox deal is still worth a whole lot more money than what they generate just in United Kingdom alone. So part of people are saying it is financially feasible for them to pull out of the United Kingdom, but do they really want to risk it? But a lot of people are saying too is with the European Union agreeing to it, that's going to force the United Kingdom to kind of change their tone here in a little bit and maybe end up flipping over and changing their mind, even though they said they're not going to bring it up for 10 years.
Well, you're getting to a lot of things with that. I mean, like the whole thing about Brexit and all of that. I mean, that's part of why the UK is operating as a separate entity with this merger, which are political things that we do not do here at Beers of War. We do not do those things. But I will say this: if Activision Blizzard gets under the Microsoft umbrella and they begin to conduct themselves the way that other major studios have once they're under the Microsoft umbrella, this is going to be a disaster. This is going to be a train wreck. If you can't crank out a Call of Duty game next year because you're not under the same level of pressure, because you got Daddy Microsoft standing over you and he's got money bags, and so you really aren't working quite as hard, Ooh, you want to talk about some mess? It's gonna be ugly, oogly if them kids can't get they fix a Call of Duty come September or November or whenever they release them every year.
True.
Can you imagine what happens then? That's what I'm talking about with this whole thing. It's like, you know what? Let the merger go through. Let the chips fall where they may. But because if it goes the way that these other studios have once they get under Microsoft's umbrella, it may be an interesting fourth quarter here or 2024 as far as gaming is concerned.
Yeah, but I mean, you feel that way, but I don't think PlayStation quite feels that way, because I think if PlayStation was really worried about that happening, I think PlayStation wouldn't be fighting it as aggressively.
Well, they're fighting it because they don't want to lose Call of Duty. Obviously, that's they're looking at 10 years down the line. It's like, do we lose Call of Duty when this becomes a Microsoft product? The possibility is very high. The question is, can you, one, develop something that can rival Call of Duty, which, judging by the properties that Sony has and the studios that they absolutely can do something that's better than Call of Duty. That's every bit as good or better than Call of Duty. And then, two, even if they don't, how bad do you miss it? I mean, you still got Madden, you still got 2K, you still got Take-Two with all of their products, GTA or whatever. But hopefully 10 years down the line, GTA 6 will be out. We don't know. You'll lose the Elder Scrolls, which is a big loss. But then again, when you look at the lineup of games, and not just games now, because the games and the movies and the entertainments, those things are starting to meld together. I was watching IGN earlier, and they were talking about some of the Sony properties that are becoming cinematic products. Obviously, The Last of Us was one of the biggest entertainment products that came out 2022, 2023. Excuse me. Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon Zero Dawn. Those two commodities are headed towards cinematic releases, either in terms of series or a movie.
I think Horizon is already in the works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of them are. So, both of them are. Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, God of War. Those are things that Sony owns as a company that they can now put into their movie products division, something Microsoft does not have. And so you can monetize those in more than one place. And it may be one of those things where it becomes a reciprocal thing, kind of like Last of Us. Because once the Last of Us series came out, people were like, oh my gosh, this was a video game? Let me go get this video game. We're like, oh yeah, the video game was based on the TV series. No, ma'am, that goes the other way around.
Right. So, and I've got a question to fire back at you. With a lot of big name publishers dropping bombs lately, mm-hmm. But I mean, granted, they're more towards Xbox publishers under their umbrella. Mm-hmm. How much is this could be due to the fact that there are too many publishing companies out there, so everybody's bleeding talent left and right to go to these new startup companies to develop a new game? Because you see these new startup games you've never heard of, although it becomes like a little cult classic hit, mm-hmm. And then your big name franchises are just, they're down for a few years. Do we got too many publishers out there now? And we just got, and the quality developers and the designers and the creators are all spread so thin instead of focusing on a big major project anymore. Because even some of your big hit games haven't been as good as they are lately.
I think it actually may be the opposite. I think there's too few. There's too few publishing companies. There's too few. The places where you can get your income from gaming, or where you can get your fix from gaming, it's a lot narrower than it used to be. I think about a game like Minecraft. I was like one dude, and that may arguably be the biggest video game release ever. Like up there with Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Minecraft, Zelda, like iconic names in gaming. Same thing with Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley was one guy, did all the coding, did all the graphics, wrote all the music, like just one dude, and it hit in a place where people were kind of needed it, and that whole area of comfort gaming where you're playing a game where you're not being necessarily violent, you're not driving towards some objective. It's not a sports game. It's just a game where you play and you relax and you just breathe and you peel the stress of the day off of you. I think now we have too few video gaming used to have games come from all sorts of directions. Now you are one bad game because of the way games are constructed. If you make a AAA title, you are one bad game away from being out of business. And I think about the studio. Kurt Schilling, the pitcher for the Red Sox and Phillies, had Studio 38, I think it was. But they had one game, Kingdoms of Amalur or something like that. That was a good game, but it wasn't good enough. It didn't make enough money to sustain itself or to sustain the studio until they made the next game. Because you spend 3 to 5 years, and in the case of COVID now, 3 to 7 years or 3 to 9 years, trying to make this game from Genesis to Revelations, I guess you could say, throughout all this build, and you just spend all this time working and building and working and building and working and building. And part of the delay too is the fact that we went from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. So now the expectation is you're going to use Unreal Engine 5. That's great, but I've been driving this car in Unreal Engine 4 for the last 3 years. Now, a year and a half before my game releases, you tell me I have to change engines. So that's part of it too. But I think we have a high level expectation as a consumer. The games have to be rock solid. Games also have to have some imagination, and I think the fact that we have now the corporatization of games, because gaming is such a big business now, instead of it being, there's not a lot of room for imagination anymore. And so that's where I think maybe having too few studios comes into it, because you really eliminate the possibility of imagination.
And I wonder how much of it is too, because it goes on in the same thing with the board game industry. Somebody comes up with something new, a new concept or a new way of playing a game, or they're straight to the patents, and they're locking that stuff down. So there's like a game comes out with a mechanic, a board game, they lock it down, and then nobody can take it and toggle with it or perfect it. And I think that could be hindering gaming too, because we're all dying for a military style combat game where every building can explode. You shoot a rocket at any random building in the city, it blows up. Or any vehicle parked on the side of the road, it blows up. Granted, it takes a lot of memory and a lot of stuff to run it, but with everything being locked down, I don't think anybody's been able to take the next bit of technology and perfect it to where it could be a common thing in video gaming. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, throughout the years, there's a lot of stuff that when we play games, we're thinking, why can't this be in the game? Why can't they do that? And we've been playing games since I remember the late 80s, and it's almost 40 years later, and it's still
early 80s.
And still the technology is not gotten up there yet. We're getting up there with some pretty cool graphics, but not to some people, graphics are everything. But a lot of people just want a good, solid gameplay.
Yep.
They want the new technology, the new, never been seen before seen before aspect of a game, like
Mm-hmm.
more dynamic background. So when you get it interact with stuff in the background, it reacts to you.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the next step in gaming technology, and we're not there yet. But how much is it? Because is it too much to try to develop that or put that into a game? Or B, is the technology just not there yet?
Well, I think a lot of the process, he's like, yeah, well, we want great graphics, but we want this and we want that. But let's not forget the most important thing in a game is entertainment. Is it entertaining? I mean, and I hesitate to say fun because I have played some games that are not what you would call fun, but they were entertaining. Like the story sometimes is brutal, like Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption 2 was not funny. There were spots that may have had a couple of laughs to it, but that game was not funny. It was not fun, but it was absolutely entertaining.
Yeah, because it took on a lot of stuff that went on during that time frame too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very, very heavy in a lot of spots. And I appreciate them doing that because that's a mature approach to gaming. On the other hand, I mean, and that game, beautiful graphics, was entertaining. On the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, was there ever a game that was more fun to play than Wii Sports?
No.
There you go. Just flat out. But your players didn't even have fingers. They didn't even have arms. You were a pair with no feet playing golf.
When we used to go to the in-laws for like holidays and stuff, we get out the Wii and we start playing bowling against each other, or we play tennis or whatever. And yeah, that kind of that stuff right there. Yeah, you're right. The graphics weren't the greatest, but one, it brought the whole family together. Because I remember wouldn't you story with your mom?
Yeah.
So, and my wife's grandma would bowl with us on Christmas sometimes.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was something that brought everybody together.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, granted, Xbox tried to go that route with the Kinect, and it just bombed.
Now, I think they were trying to copycat something. You can't put that lightning back in a bottle and resell it.
It was a little bit the idea was ahead of the technology at the time.
That too, very much so.
Now the funny thing is paranormal ghost hunters.
Mm-hmm.
They're gobbling up those Kinect cameras. Apparently, the technology in them is good for trying to pick up on that stuff they're looking for ghost hunting and stuff. So yeah, a lot of the ghost hunters use those cameras now. What? So if they find one and like somebody selling one for $5, they'll pick them up.
So, that is bananas.
Yeah. Apparently, there's the motion technology was still sensitive enough to pick up movement,
pick up ghosts,
motion, and other spectrums of light.
Well, maybe Microsoft had the wrong idea for that product. Maybe they should have been selling it to the Ghostbusters.
But yeah, I honestly think the technology for that was, or the concept was, a way ahead of what the technology was at the time.
Mm-hmm. I remember the workout things that they had with the Kinect on the Xbox One when it came out. It could tell. Now I would have on a baggy tee, like they'd have an aerobics game or something like that. I would have on a baggy T-shirt and like some basketball shorts. It could tell which muscles in my chest were flexing when I was doing an exercise. And I'm sitting there thinking, how? That's almost creepy. But I mean, it could do it. I mean, I'm sure if I tried to get on the thing now to check into it, come on.
It's probably going off based on how you're analyzing your body movements and based on how you moved a certain, like your arm a certain way. It was programmed to sense these muscles are being used.
Mm-hmm. That's nuts. I found that absolutely fascinating how it could do that.
But that goes back to the same thing too with Xbox. It seems like they missed the opportunity again because while they were developed to connect, PlayStation was on the opposite side developing VR.
Exactly.
Same thing with Xbox Ones back in the day with or 360s when they went with the UHD versus Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like they want to take technology, and it's like whoever is deciding which way or route to go has been picking wrong for Xbox.
It's that really have.
And
really
even
have.
to this day with the games, I mean, they're dropping games that highly anticipated are just bombing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know a few people in our in the Beers of War group that we have when Redfall first came out. One of our buddies from the UK who played it and says if you tweaked a couple graphic settings, the game was a lot better to play. I mean, there is some people who were playing Redfall and said to make some changes and stuff. It actually turned out to be a better game.
Yeah.
I didn't play it long enough to find out, and I haven't had any really desire to get back into it.
Mm-mm.
So.
No, and a new property really has to do a much more difficult job, especially now since the majority of the age of gamers is rising. The average age of gamers is rising because, an 11 or 12-year-old now really isn't interested so much in the Xbox as they are their phones. Again, another level of competition. So a game has to hook you quick in order to get you interested in it.
Does PlayStation have the ability to play video games on your cell phone like Xbox does?
No.
So is that what they really mean about cloud gaming? Is pretty much your Xbox could go anywhere with you at any time?
I think that's the intention.
Because like I said, the CMA was more worried about the aspect of Xbox and cloud gaming. Is that what they're referring to? That the fact that why would I want to go buy a PlayStation when I could go buy an Xbox and play Call of Duty at my job at my desk during my lunch break on my cell phone or my tablet?
I'm thinking that's what Xbox is really pushing towards is Xbox Anywhere, where you can just have your phone with you, plug it, have your controller, and then log into the cloud and just have at it. Me being, on the border of 50, when I'm at work, I'm not worried about gaming. My gaming time is set aside for, XYZ. And I have difficulty connecting to the cloud anyway. To indulge in that. Now, granted, people live in different areas. They would be essentially making the Xbox platform a handheld, which is kind of what Nintendo did with the Switch, is a handheld and a console. Well, you can play your handheld game, and then transfer it over to your console when you get home, kind of like PlayStation did. Didn't PlayStation have that with the Vita or something like that?
Well, they had the handheld, but I don't know if it actually connected and still because I haven't had a PlayStation past PlayStation 2, so I don't know what the technology is. Did it actually connect to your console or not? I thought I remember something it did.
You're wrong with it.
So
it's really, I can see where Xbox is headed with this. Which again, a gamer friend of ours who owns a game store and a collectible store, about 6 years back, him and I had a conversation where he thinks at some point you're going to buy an Xbox TV, where it's a television that comes with a controller directly to the cloud, and that's your video game, that's your television, that's your console, that's your whole 9 yards in one package. And I can see that. I can see Microsoft slowly trudging in that direction to where maybe this iteration of Xbox, the Xbox Series X, may be the last.
Well, the way technology is going now, you don't have to put a lot more equipment in the side of a back of a TV to play some of this stuff anymore.
Yeah,
And you just
that's
put
true.
an app on a TV that and a Bluetooth that connects to the controller, and that app connected to the Xbox Cloud, the Xbox Live Cloud. There you go.
Mhm.
Because I mean,
But
I could play Xbox Series X games on my Xbox One through cloud gaming. So the
but
technology is there.
the question is this: you've already seen a couple of competitors try this and fail. Amazon and Google have both tried this exact same thing. I think or Google had the Stadia. Amazon
Right.
had what, the Luna or something like that. And I don't think either one of
Wasn't
those were too terribly successful.
wasn't one of them though designed more to play like cell phone app games versus actual gaming?
May have been. May have been.
I think it
Um,
might have been the Google one was
yeah,
designed to be so you
Stadia.
could start playing. You can play more, and I think they were in the development. I know Amazon was in the development building some stuff too, and converting some games. But I kind of look at those as kind of like the XFL and the USFL to the NFL. You've got your
Yep.
main product, which is your big three, or if you want to count PC, four. And then you've got these upstarts trying to come in and wedge their way in. These people are already dedicated to this. You're not going to get a lot of people going out and trying this other product.
That'll be the last time I ever heard Amazon and Google referred to as upstarts.
Well, in the gaming industry, yeah, they're kind of on
In
the
the gaming
upstart.
industry, you are an upstart. Yeah. Um, so that is a very interesting, because it, with the delay, the amount of time it's taking now for games, AAA games, to get to market. Where are we on the consoles? I know PlayStation. I've heard the whole thing about a mid-gen release for like a PlayStation 5 Pro and an Xbox Series XL, I think is what it was called, which I could not possibly think of a worse name.
So you got the Xbox goes from a dorm fridge or a mini fridge to a dorm fridge.
I think so. I think it's a whole appliance now. I think it's a dishwasher. You'll be able to buy the whole package, like all four Xbox Series consoles. One's a microwave, one's an oven.
So this is the first I've heard about I've heard about the PlayStation off on for the last several months that they're looking at a Pro and possibly a slim version of their current gen. So what are some details about the new Xbox?
I have none as of yet. I would imagine there's probably some accelerator in processor level, and probably, 16 teraflops versus the 12 that come in the Series X. And none of it means anything without the games. None of it means anything. Like, you can have the most powerful console, which Xbox does. Microsoft has the most powerful console. You don't have the games. So you have a $500 dorm fridge that you're playing an Xbox 360 game on. Or in my case, I'm playing baseball.
And right now I'm searching. I'm not finding anything about a new console, but we'll have to look into that a little bit farther. Maybe bring it up on the next episode if we can get some more information about that.
Well, Microsoft has got their E3 equivalent event June the 11th, I believe it's. Which we'll have a lot to talk about that week, because that'll be the week after Dallas Comic Con. So hopefully there'll be three of us that time around, and we can talk a little bit about our experience at con, and also the events that both Microsoft and Sony have had, because by June 11th, we'll have both of them.
Yeah, hopefully next time around we won't keep you guys 3 weeks between episodes. With just Mother's Day and life just got in the way, and we couldn't get everybody scheduled to line up. And then, unfortunately, Beer Ninja was going to join us, and about a half hour before recording, he had an emergency come up and couldn't make it. So, but I think that's probably wrap it up for where we're at now. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have some more topics to talk about. Maybe we'll get some more update on the Xbox Blizzard merger.
If we have some, let's hope we have some.
Yep. Talk about maybe some new games, new movies coming to light. I did finish Star Wars Rebels since the last time. And then also, too, I ended up watching Star Wars Jedi's Tales. If
How
you
was
have
that?
not seen that, that is actually pretty good. It gives you a little bit more of a backstory into Count Dooku and also a little bit more of a background story of Ahsoka Tano.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really want something funny, watch that inappropriate video I sent you today.
I will do my best.
Ahsoka Tano showing up in the Return of the Jedi. Make sure your boy's not around.
I'll do my best. His bedtime. He's got a bedtime in 30 minutes for the last week of school. By the way, if you are watching and you had kids that graduate, congratulations to you. You have successfully fulfilled your obligations.
After this school year, I've got one more school year, and then my last two graduate.
One more.
Yep.
I've got 6 more.
I know.
God help us all.
They're all excited about graduating. I'm thinking I only got one more year as being a band dad.
I got 6 more as an orchestra dad, so I'm but we were on I apologize if this is a little bit too personal, but we were on the we were doing our orchestra parent thing this past week, and I'm sitting there looking at Stacey. I was like, I bet Brandon is laughing. Brandon would be laughing his ass off if he saw us now, like kid wrangling and all that other stuff we're doing, getting a bunch of 6th graders ready to go on stage for an orchestra performance.
Oh, so don't worry. We watched it and we're thinking, because of how the kids up here are taught from first concert and everything else, I'm like seeing the kids in jeans and t-shirts, and I'm thinking the kids' band director would flip shit right now if they showed up looking like this.
Oh yeah.
Even as early as 7th grade here, it's black pants, black shirts, look professional from the get up. Start early. That way, when they do get into high school and competing in some of even the concert bands, because unfortunately our school does not do any type of string orchestra. We do the upper level group does college level concert band, and then they have the 2nd tier concert band, and then they do jazz band and marching band.
Well, I'm thoroughly proud of that proud of that kid. He hadn't touched a double bass before the start of the year, and now we have to make him stop practicing.
Hey, the thing is, if they enjoy doing it, that makes it even better.
He does. He thoroughly does, and that's all a testament to his orchestra director. So shout out to him. So you got your shot, sir?
Yep. It's not really a shot. It's just the last bit of my drink.
I got mine. So from headquarters and from the studio, if you drink,
may you drink with me.